Hello everyone, today we're going to discuss about case study with me, Pak Afif Ikhwanul Muslimin. Case study is a type of research method that we know that we can use and to investigate a language case. Before we go further, better for us to understand what is called as a case. According to Bowling A 2002 in his book Research Method, the second edition published by Open University Press, a case is a single unit in a study. It can be a person or organizations like a university, someone, school, or television program. So when you are thinking about a television program and you find something unique there, then you can use that as a case. Sometimes researchers undertake more than one case for purpose of comparison. For example, when you are discussing about the applications of online learning in private versus to public schools. After knowing what is case about, then we can understand from the definitions raised by R. Yin 2009 that a case study is an empirical inquiry that investigates the contemporary phenomenon in depth and within its real context. So there are three important things here that you have to pay attention on the definitions. The first one is it should be an empirical inquiry. Then the second one, you should consider about there is a contemporary phenomenon. So you have to differ these explanations compared to phenomenology research method. When you're talking about phenomenology, you're going to talk about something that already happened in the past. But case study is a case that happened still in a real life, then you can do and research and investigations at the same time. And the last one, it should be in real life context. And the simpler understanding on the definitions of case study is proposed by Wood 1980 that it is an intensive study about a person, group of people, or unit, with the researcher examines in depth data relating to several variables. So here in a case study, the focus can be something or someone that you pay attention deeper on understanding the case. So the case here is the core or a center, a stage of inquiry. To make your understanding deeper about case study, there is a table adapted from GOMT 2000 about the comparisons of case study research with the experimental and survey approaches. Talking about experiments, it's about testing whether something is effective or not effective. That's why the sample in the experiment study will be small number of units. While in a case study, you can also use a small number of units, but sometimes unique one can be the only one. So for example, you are interested to have a study about a girl that she has kind of superstitious ability, then you can make the girl as the only unit of subject in the research. In survey study, of course, you will use a larger number of units because you make generalizations of the result of the research. Then in experiment study, the data collected and analyzed about small number of predetermined features of each unit. So in case study, as you would like to search for the effect of a certain thing like a strategy or method or technique toward the dependent variable, so you already have something that you would like to search from the dependent variable. For example, you would like to test the effectiveness of jigsaw reading strategy toward the reading achievement. You already determine that you will find only the reading ability achievement score. And in case study, the data collected and analyzed about large and often not predetermined features of each unit. Since you already have an objective before you do a case study research, but sometimes you will find something new during the process of collecting data, then it's gonna be open your point of view to develop more or deeper your discussions in case study. And the last one is about the survey. In survey, data collected and analyzed about a small number of features of each case. At the same like experimental study, that you already decide what you would like to find out in survey method, then you will discuss only about that. In experiments, study of units organized in such a way as to control variables of interest. You have made an objective to test the effectivity of something. Then experiment, you already decide and organize and manage the steps to make sure that you will achieve the objective of the experimental study. But in case study, the interest is naturally occurring features or the variable in context. So the interest is about something nature. You are not deciding or managing the subject of the research to fulfill your need, but you will follow what are the answers and reactions of the subjects. In survey, units selected to represent characteristics of the study's populations. As it is a survey, you will sometimes it's impossible for you to collect the data from all the populations. So you make kind of sampling technique, then you will make the result of survey from the sample as the generalizations as a representations of the whole populations. Then experimental study will produce quantitative data. Then in case study it can be both qualitative and quantitative data. But in survey, again, it's related to numbers, so it belongs to quantitative data. The experiment study, the aim is about testing a theory or evaluations of the interventions or treatment. So the researcher will provide a kind of treatment, then would like to test whether the groups that is treated perform better compared to the group which is not treated with a certain method or technique or strategy. But in case study, the aim is about to understand and theorize through including the literature. So you have a case there. Then you'd like to cover the case with a theory, then it's going to be meaningful to be learned by the other. Then in survey, the aim is about to make a generalizations from a sample as a representative of the whole populations. Then after you know about the definitions of case study, the case itself, and also somehow to create a clearer understanding by comparing with another research method, then I would like to raise the ideas about types of case study. According to Creswell, the types are only two. The first one is a bounded system, and the second one is multiple bounded system. So in a bounded system, there is only a case, but in multiple bounded system, there are more than a case. More explorative ideas was raised by Yin 2003, mentioning that there are four types of case study here. The first one still about a single case design, but inside a single case design there is embedded or multiple units of analysis. So maybe in a case there are some factors that influence the appearance of a case, so there are some units inside there, so it can called as a single case design with embedded. But in another type, Yin also proposed about multiple case design with also embedded. So there are some cases that already have similar characteristics. I'm talking about something, then inside each case there are some embedded units, so it's called as multiple case design embedded. Then to collect the data, usually in case study research, the researcher do some data collection technique. Mostly in qualitative research, the researcher use interview and observations, or maybe another data collection technique that are relevant for qualitative research. Then since it is a kind of qualitative research, so the researcher should do what's called as triangulations to discuss a single thing in the research from different point of view to make a kind of validity of the data. But if the data is gotten from the case study research is quantitative, so the researcher should follow the validity procedures from the quantitative research point of view. Then there are some experts who already shows the advantages of doing case study. According to Duff 2008 mentions that case study is a very thorough analysis, since the researcher do what is called as deep understanding by digging a lot of information. So there is a possibility that the researcher will get some point of view from different subject in a case. Then there will be triangulations and also open new perspective about the case itself. Then there is also explorations process reveals new perspective, as I mentioned before, that during the process of digging the informations or data collections, there is a possibility that the researcher find something that was not thought by the researcher before doing the research, but the subject of the research produced the data directly during the interview or observations. And the next one, it will be worth and also interesting if a researcher can reveal a uniqueness of someone's background or experience, which can be kind of reflection for another case discussions. And of course, since there is an in-depth study, there is a possible that sometimes you have to do a research in a long time, so you can do longitudinal research or study by, for example, like investigating the baby language development here. And some researchers also think about the drawbacks of doing case study. It relates to objectivity, because the key instrument in a qualitative research is the researcher itself. So it means that there is also involvement of subjectivity of the researcher to in the process of discussing the data or collecting the data. So objectivity in a case study, it's quite questionable, um, as long as the researcher do not follow a validity process. And the next one related to generalizability, it relates to the difficulty to make a generalization, since sometimes in a case study the researcher only take one person or one thing as a subject of the research. And the last one, it relates to the ethical problem. Sometimes, since the researcher dig deeper about the existence of a case, sometimes it's quite risky that the researcher will break the ethical rules. Okay, so it seems like this is the end of our discussions about case study. It's only a brief discussions. You can dig more about the understanding of case study. Then don't forget to subscribe and like this channel. Thank you very much and good luck for your research.